Yeah, absolutely. I would probably start a bit backwards, if that makes sense, moving from now to back. So right now I am, as you said, the information security manager at Swedbank within an area called Group Risk. So it's for all the risk, how do you say, risk-based things. And I was actually very surprised when I joined the bank, because I thought I would be working within the security division. I mean, in a sense at least. And I thought that risk was, operational risk driven. And it turns out when you're in in the banking business and you're talking about risk, it's credit risk and financial risk, which was I'm not going to say unpleasant surprise, but at least it was a surprise. But that was quite fun. And before I actually moved to as information security manager, I was working as information security specialist, and I was basically doing the same work, but without the same mandate. So I didn't get the opportunity to participate in all the work groups and all things like that, and I had to go to my manager and ask for approvals a lot. But it was basically the same work, trying to make sure that we do the best with information security within my area. And the group risk department, it's quite big. We're close to 400 people, and I get to work with security there. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. Before I joined Swedbank, I was at a Swedish fintech company, they were working with payments and sort of understanding them. And I was doing pretty much the same thing there. I think the title was, information security specialist or something like that. It's always the same. But basically trying to make sure that their security was up to par. There I actually focused a lot on making sure that the ISMS, that is the information security management system, was working properly and was aligned with up to standards or ISO 27000, the series there. So I did a lot of that type of work. Maybe not as much technical work as I would have thought when I started there. Going back even further, I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I did a little bit of this and that there. I was in the cybersecurity division, maybe, is that a good word? And I was helping out with things from audits in the beginning, looking at asking questions for the internal IT controls. The general controls, and after a while I started talking with our pen test team and saying like, I think I know a bit about computers and tech, could I perhaps join you guys? And it ended up being a really good match, so I moved to them instead, still in the same division, but I was very focused on tech there for a while. And I mean, that was just wonderful. You got into this fantastic team of really friendly people, and you got to actively try to exploit a customer's environment and move towards it and get flags, and it was just every dream you could think of. But our manager there, it was a really good idea actually. He thought that you shouldn't do pen testing on full time because it's easy to get I'm not gonna say burnt out, but it becomes a bit too much because it's very intense. You can, you really stand there and you bang your head against the wall trying to get through it. So we had some side projects there as well, and so I did some information security work also that was more, on a policy and management level, which was really nice for widening the scope there. I actually also at PwC, I had a shorter run-in with something called RPA. It's the robotic process automation, and trying to automate processes to make things more cost efficient. I don't know how I ended up doing that. I think it was because I know how to code. It was a complete mismatch from my side, so I'm very happy that I no longer work with that. Yeah, I mean, the pen testing part, absolutely. Getting to work with a team of proper hackers, that's so much fun, and it's such a thrill when you own your first domain that's not yours. you get the complete permissions and you can do whatever. You can get the information in or out. You could shut it down if you want to, and then you go and write that in a report. But that was a very much, you know, the thrill of that. I also had the opportunity to work with a fantastic guy who had a long career in the military and as a consultant in writing a policy for Swedish small companies and how they're supposed to work with security, just raising the bar from, you know, nothing to a bit higher, and giving them the tools to do that. And that was very, you know, inspiring. Perhaps also a very short shout out to a teacher I had whose name is Pontus Jonsson at KTH, who teaches ethical hacking, and his course there was quite the eye opener and you know, very engaging. Yeah, absolutely. That's surprisingly not connected to my sort of career in that sense. It is a green tech company that me and a few friends founded. We were basically trying to do some good. I don't know if that sounds too cliche. So we had this idea that you should be able to compensate for things that you buy. So if you buy, you know, a pair of shoes or a pizza, instead of, you know, having the climate guilt, you could actually just, you know, add some sense to it and offset that, and then some extra, you know, so you would be net positive. So we started reading about that, and it turns out that it's super expensive to do that from the company's perspective, right? To offer that service is very expensive, and it's hard to calculate, and it's done by consultants. So we wrote some programs that does it for you, so that you don't have to do the math yourself. I mean, the company doesn't have to do the math, and we don't charge. I mean, we have a very low cost. So instead of charging, you know, thousands of pounds for consultancies, they pay us, you know, a monthly fee of a couple of £100. I think I fit fairly well into the Swedbank sort of values here. We have the values, and again, talking about cliches, we have the values of open, simple, and caring. And at first, I mean, that sounds very sort of rubbish. Sounds like everyone else, something you would put on a wall and that's it. But I think it's actually a core part of our culture here, and it suits me very well. I mean, I think you need to be, whenever you're dealing with people, you need to be open with them, what your intentions are, what you're trying to do, being simple in what you actually, you know, what you say, not doing things overly complicated just because it looks nice, because a lot of people, especially in my industry, they tend to complicate things because it looks nice. And then caring, I mean, you have to care about the people you work with. You have to make sure that they are happy. And that might be that you are the one who end up doing the grunt work that you asked for. And also, like, if you ask for things to be done, be prepared to do them yourself. So I think that was a good match with Swedbank. I think it's one of the most important thing, because it's. I talked to. There's this guy who has his company with, I don't know, 30-something employees, and I talked to him quite a bit about culture, and he said it really well. That it's really easy to wreck it. You just need like this one bad apple, and everything will come tumbling down. And he talked about hiring people, you know, based on how they are, and that sometimes that has to be more important than merit. And I think there's some truth to that. I think you need to get the culture right, because otherwise you will have people who are, I don't know, they can be disloyal, they can be unengaged, or you can get the culture that's the other way around. They work too hard and you have to switch the workforce because people are feeling bad. I mean, we talk about sustainability. This is also the same thing. And again, with the value words, I mean, if we put our values on a word, they don't matter. But if we start living them, and especially lead by example, that's so important. Yeah, I mean, we have made quite a security journey in the past. I've only been with the bank for 1.5 years, but during that time we made quite a journey, and we actually started that before I joined, and we are very much ramping up our standards from being, I'm not going to say bad, but perhaps not up to our own ideals. So we are doing a lot of work when it comes to making sure that our management is understandable, and making sure that you, as someone who works adjacent to security, knows how to deal with it. This is something where you need to understand what's expected of you, because if you don't do that, security is just a blocker. So many things I would like to talk about here, but perhaps shifting over a bit, talking about trends and things like that. We are trying to do the DevSecOps journey. We have started it, and I think that's something that a lot of people have done or are doing right now. I think it's a really good thing if done correctly. But there's always the possibility that you get it wrong, and then you end up, instead of being responsible for your part, you're in a situation where it feels like security is forcing you to be security experts, and that doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Because if it would be the same if finance would walk up to you and say like, oh, you're supposed to do your own salary taxation or something like that. It would feel very odd. So it needs to be again aligned with culture. It needs to be something that feels natural, and I think you need to have very good support for it as well in the company, so that it's nice and that it's liberating rather than a chore that you're given. A lot of our challenges within the security area, I think, is regarding communication. We have to make sure that people understand what we are saying, tying back to what I mentioned earlier about assigning people new tasks or having the proper governance documents, or standards, guidelines, instructions, everything like that. You need to communicate it in a clear way. And now I'm being very much sound like I have been rehearsing our value words here. But if you move back to the simple part, you need to express yourself in a way that makes sense, and that's sometimes very hard for people to do, because you're in your area, right, and I'm in mine. And if I want to communicate something with you, I need to step onto your turf, and I need to say like, okay, I'm giving you a message. How can I make sure that you understand it? And I don't know, do they say like communication is always the sender's responsibility? So you really have to adjust the message to the person receiving it. And I think that's one of our big challenges. But also, like, another thing that I don't know, fantastic to do if you're stuck in a situation, good advice maybe, is to offer to do things that you shouldn't be doing. I'm not saying that you should do things that are against norms or things like that, but if somebody say like, oh, I don't want to do this thing that you're asking me to do, offer to do it for them. Just help out a lot. Most of the time people will just say like, oh, okay, let's help each other in this, and we will get it done, and you get your thing done and they get theirs, so everyone is really happy. Just living in synergy. If I could shift this a bit, I think something that we shouldn't do perhaps is we're spouting this FUD, the fear, uncertainty, doubt. And I'm not talking about the banking industry or finance industry, but more the security industry. it's very easy to get caught up in this thing where everything is scary and everything is dangerous, and we will probably lose, because we're always playing a numbers game where we are behind. There are so many attackers with great capabilities, and some of the people who work for them are, they're really good because they're recruiting from the same pool as security experts are recruited from, and perhaps with a bit of a different moral compass, but still, competency-wise, it's very close. And I think we need to be better at not being, the doomsday prophets. I think we need to be gathered, and we need to be, we need to present a unified front and saying, like, we will overcome this. This isn't the end of the world. I mean, there are so many things that we could talk about that's new. There are some people who talk a lot about AI, for example, saying that will end security. The AI bots will be attacking 24/7, and there will be automatic pen tests and all that. But so far, we haven't seen that. So perhaps we shouldn't be worrying that much about that. As soon as we start seeing them in a broader sense, at least, we will react to it, because we are in the reactive side in most cases. There's one thing that we perhaps could do something about. That would be good to talk a bit more about. Is quantum computing and cryptography. Because, and I know this is like very specific, but it's uncomfortable to talk about because it's hard and we're using it a lot, and it involves a lot of math and trying to figure out, what to do about it. But we have some pretty good solutions overall in from the science community. So we basically know what we should be doing about it, but we should maybe think about shifting our crypto suites to make sure that we can withstand attacks in the future.